Members, the House is resumed. Is there a Labor speaker? No. A call. Is this a point of order? No, the next call I said was for a Labor member. I'm calling Poto Williams.
What's this for, Chris? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry about that. A little confusion. What are we at? Before the from the dinner break. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak. I do want to firstly acknowledge you and your role as and the new speakers to the House. Thank you very much for everything that you do in keeping order in the House. I want to welcome our new members, and we got to hear some of them give their maiden speeches today. And I want to greet the returning members. It's been an honour to return this term to experience the full ceremony and celebration of the Commission and State opening of the 51st Parliament. And I send my regards to the constituents of Christchurch East for affording me the privilege of representing them again. I listened with interest to the speech from the throne for this government's commitment to our people on housing. And I'm sad to say, sir, that I was saddened by what I heard. Our people know that shelter, decent housing, a roof over their heads is one of the most basic rights, and it absolutely it's the state's responsibility to house its people. Our government has, in the past, built our nation on this fundamental premise, and it's our responsibility to ensure our people have shelter. We need to look no further. We need to look further and say that this shelter must be accessible, and that there are no barriers that exist to decent housing, whether that barrier be by lack of income, lack of availability, the colour of your skin, or whether you're a beneficiary or a paid employee, or whether you have a disability or a mental illness. But this government is saying to our people that you are on your own. And furthermore, we are going to provide private landlords with more stock with which to charge exorbitant rents and provide low-income people out of housing market and into cars and garages. I believe the provision of housing is a core function of the state, and the reasons are simple. Housing and shelter is important. It's a basic human right, and it's a right that provides protection from the elements and those things that might harm us. It permits us to establish ourselves and to gather and preserve those things around us that are important to us. It provides us with a base from which we can flourish, a safe place to restore and to recover. But it's not just about housing, it's about decent housing that is warm and dry and, above all, affordable. What causes me the most concern, Mr. Speaker, is the lack of commitment to ensure that the sell-off of our state houses is not detrimental to those on low incomes, and that it prices them out of the market for a decent home. We are being assured by Minister English that social housing providers will be able to purchase these homes for their clients, arguably the same people currently living in them. I would ask why the state should not continue to be the provider. The state has the resources to maintain these properties. It's cost effective to hold a large portfolio of property, to contract at the best government rates for maintenance and repair. Again, I ask why the government should not continue with state housing. We have seen plenty of examples of the benefits of state housing and what is provided to members of both sides of this House, and I include the Prime Minister in that lineup. There is a need for housing, no one can deny that. So why does this government want to sell state houses? Because clearly they are the best providers of social housing in terms of affordability and in terms of being able to maintain and repair these houses. The state has been a good provider of social housing, as evidenced by members of this House. It comes down to one thing, Mr. Speaker, I believe, and that is ideology. The government does not believe in preserving assets paid for New Zealanders for the use and enjoyment of New Zealanders. This is wrong, Mr. Speaker. These houses have been the backbone of strong communities and building decent lives for 80 years, and we should be building more of them, not flogging them off. Flogging them off with no guarantee of any new homes to be built to make up the shortfall of our communities. So why should we not sell these homes? Let me quote you John A. Lee, who knew a thing or two about housing. It is well to remember that good housing is essential for a good community. Being able to put down roots and develop links and connections into that community and to take advantage of community capital, the social capital, takes time, and people have to have time to do so, regardless of whether they own or they rent. There should not be a barrier to long-term residency in a community simply because of your ability to purchase a home or to affordably rent a home. These are not individual benefits. It benefits the community to have well-networked residents who are aware of their neighbours' situations and supportive of them. A natural disaster is the time when these connections are most apparent, and Christchurch is a case study on well-connected communities pulling together and working together through a very difficult time. Decent housing provides good outcomes for children. They will be connected into school, and school will be connected into the family. Children are safer, women are safer, communities are safer when those connections have been developed and enhanced over time, and outcomes are better for families when transience is minimised or eliminated. The relationship of cost of housing to income is without question the most critical situation that needs addressing, and supply plays a significant role in that cost. The housing issue paints a different picture depending on which part of the country you are in, and if you're in Auckland or Canterbury experiencing escalating prices, this is pricing first home buyers out of the market. This fuels pressure which flows through the system, and those with less resources are competing for rents. We know this story, we know it well, it's repeated every day to us by our constituents and by our media. The result, Mr. Speaker, are families in cars, in caravan parks, in tents and in seriously overcrowded, unsafe, unhealthy homes, putting their friends and families at risk of losing their tenancies. For low-income people and families, it is the most insecure time for housing in many years. And here I want to quote Alan Johnson, well known to many, when he comments on the government's record card on housing in his report, Give Me Shelter. A lack of vision of unifying view of social and affordable housing, a poor understanding of future housing and a failure to plan for this need, inadequate funding and an absence of funding models which might address housing need in an effective way on a sustainable basis. What is the responsible approach to housing? One that considers the person's ability to pay for that housing. This means not only affordability and availability, but the income available to pay for that housing, which for most of us is the biggest takeout of our pay packets each week. This means decent pay, raising the minimum wage and setting a target to achieve a living wage, in jobs where we value workers with decent conditions, adequate rest and meal breaks. In the House today at question time, Mr. Speaker, Minister English said we should not be surprised that the housing program for sell-off has been signalled for 4 years now, and that the government's program will address the serious housing needs. Minister English also admitted that there are serious housing needs, which I must say is refreshing, given the accusation that our side of the House is always overstating the problem. Catastrophising, I think the government calls it. So it is with relief I acknowledge the government finally taking some notice of this. The Minister quotes that this program will deliver housing of the right type, in the right place, of the right condition and the right size. But I do hope that it will deliver for our people. The Minister went on to say that under their program of delivering better public services, that they are taking a better approach to people and that they will be measuring success based on the measures of serious housing need. I can only say that the government needs a better measure than the one that they are using for reducing child poverty, for example, because if they are serious about addressing this need and the serious housing need, they need to get real about their policies' impact on that need. By this I mean the benefit reforms, the investment approach to social services and delivering better public services. Does this deliver real solutions to our families? I believe our families are being put in an impossible situation where, based on resources that they have no choice, and it's bad decision making. It's not bad decision making, it's that they don't have choice. Above all, I believe that we want a government that will make it possible for Kiwi families to put down roots and fully participate in a healthy community life.
Order.
Housing will... Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
I move that this debate be now adjourned.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. For the contrary, no. The ayes have it. This debate is adjourned and set down for resumption next sitting day. Call on Government Orders of the Day numbers 1 to 3.
Employment Relations Amendment Bill, Committee Stage. Accounting Infrastructure Reform Bill, Committee Stage. Gambling Amendment Bill number 2, Committee Stage.
I declare the House in committee for further consideration of the Employment Relations Amendment Bill, for consideration of the Accounting Infrastructure Reform Bill, and for further consideration of the Gambling Amendment Bill number 2. Mr. Chairman. Speaker.
The House is in committee.